Hey guys, LevelCap here. Today we're going to be talking about the community map being built in Battlefield 4 CTE. That's Community Test Environment. Now, they've just textured up the map. Things haven't been optimized yet. Obviously, there's a lot of popping that you can see right here, and the buildings don't yet have textures, but this map is further along than we've ever seen it before. And now that the textures are in the map, it gives you a much better idea of just how well people are going to be concealed and how the map is actually going to play out. Now, I didn't want to give feedback on this map until textures were implemented, because textures and foliage and all that kind of stuff go a long way into concealing players around the map. When it was a white box map, everybody stood out. It was very easy to see them, and you didn't have a good idea of just how easy it was going to be to sneak around on this map. Now that the foliage is in, they have all this cool ground cover, cool waterfall effects, we've got the water textures in, all that stuff. We can have a much better idea of just how everything is actually going to play out and how each of the objectives play out. Now, when I first heard about a jungle map being designed for Battlefield 4, I got really excited because I thought about Battlefield Vietnam, where they had some extremely close-quarter jungle maps. Not the expansion for Bad Company 2, but the original Battlefield Vietnam. You could get in like 10 feet away from somebody and still not be able to see them in some parts of some of the maps because of just how crazy dense the foliage was. It is not the case in this map here. There are some cool areas with lots of foliage, some jungly areas of the map, but I would have to say overall this map is more of a long-range map. It's split into 5 capture points on the Conquest version of this map. C is probably the most dense area of the map. It features a fully destructible village, a single road passing through it that tanks and APCs can use, and a lot of rocks and foliage surrounding it. This is probably the most close-quarter and jungly part of the map. Once the village is destroyed, however, it becomes a bit more mid to long range. This is probably my favorite part of the map because it gives you total freedom in what kind of weapon you want to use. If you want to stand on top of some of the rocks in the jungle, you can provide yourself with some long distance firefights. If you antagonize your opponents and then hide behind a rock, you can force that close range engagement when they're forced to attack you or try and get closer. So you can definitely work with pump action shotguns, carbines, PDWs, even if you would like. And I just like having that kind of freedom of choosing what kind of weapon I want to run with. The surrounding capture points, however, have a lot of open ground around them, so it can be very hard to not only get onto the capture point, but once you're there, trying to stop people following you or coming onto the capture point, you're usually going to need some long-range weaponry, or at least the players with the long-range guns are going to have the advantage. Now, just about every single Battlefield 4 map to date really does cater to long-range gameplay. There's a few of them that are definitely CQB oriented, but in terms of Conquest style maps, Conquest large style maps, there is a ton of long range stuff, and I was finally excited for something that was going to favor infantry a bit more over the vehicle combat, and unfortunately it seems like 4 out of the 5 capture points are really just all about long range gameplay. Vehicles are going to dominate there, and that's just something that I was hoping we could maybe avoid, maybe get around on this map. Visually, I love the map. I actually really like the layout of the map. I just think it needs a lot more cover, both physical and visual cover, on the surrounding points. Take D Point, for example. You've got this logging area. Once you get there, it's wide open. Tanks can come in there and absolutely dominate people. A lot of the firefights you get into are very, very long range. It's hard to get into close quarters. So on one hand, you want to have weapons that can take out tanks and armor that are going to come in and dominate this point. So you want an RPG and small and whatever else, but if you don't have a good long range weapon, and carbines are much more difficult to use at further ranges now since the last patch, the weapon balancing and stuff like that, it's going to be tricky to win those infantry firefights. So assault class are going to dominate the infantry. Engineers are really not going to have much to do until vehicles come by. You see a very similar thing at Bravo Point with the waterfall and temple, although Bravo Point has a little bit more close quarter infantry action on the point itself, but getting to the point offers a lot of long range open exposed areas. So just getting on a Bravo Point almost requires you to have a long range weapon so you can attack the people that are defending it. Once you get in close, sure, carbine and other weapons can do well there, but you have a very, very wide open spot. And then the other extremities, A and E point, again have a lot of wide open space surrounding them. They can favor carbines a little bit more, but I would still classify them as more of long range engagement points. Now, if it were up to me, I would put a lot more jungle around A and E points, creating basically an endless jungle from A to C to E, put in a lot more solid rock cover to give them better protection against tanks and stuff like that. And this way the whole center part of the map is controlled by infantry. The extremities B and D have a little bit more vehicle favoritism, a little bit more long range just to give some variety through the map, but give you a lot more close range jungle combat in the center. Now, this map is very close to achieving what I consider to be the golden Battlefield formula of having a mostly infantry-centric map with a few pieces of heavy armor that, if used correctly, can actually influence the flow of the game quite significantly. If you remember Aftermath in Battlefield 3, most of the maps were designed around that principle where you had some armor on each team, but the infantry was really where the majority of your forces were, and it just flowed really, really well. Probably one of my favorite expansions in Battlefield 3, and I think a lot of people just really enjoyed the gameplay in general. This map is close to that. It just needs to favor infantry combat a little bit more on the extremes and also bring the range in a little bit closer, especially since carbines have become so much more difficult to use at those further ranges. Other than that, I'm really enjoying the visual look of this map. The massive amount of destruction in the center of the map can be a lot of fun, provided that you don't have a 1,000 ticket server and everything gets obliterated. This map could end up looking like the forest capture point on Caspian Border in a long ticket game where it's basically a desert after a while. So if all the trees get taken down in this map, it's not really going to be much of a jungle anymore. So as long as servers are playing it with appropriate ticket counts, I think it stands to be one of the better maps, provided that they make a few more balanced changes. So anyway, that's my rundown of the map as it stands with the first iteration of textures. If you guys want to check out the map for yourself, you can just go download CTE and try it out. As always, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. This is LevelCap signing off.